morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Sam here, United People's TV. It's Tuesday. We've got a busy show lined up. It's exciting. I'm coming in with I don't know. I was speaking about this over the weekend, actually. It feels like that news, the Barata news at the weekend was sort of, it's kind of like a plug that just kind of got opened, and finally there's like a vision coming forward, and it's nice. It feels like we're a little bit clogged up as a club. But I'm going to be speaking a little bit more about the industry reaction to United getting Barata. It's quite fun to look at, actually, if I'm honest. And I'm going to be speaking about Dan Ashworth next. Dave Brailsford and Jim Ratcliffe, they are looking at building the exact team that they want as the structure. No sort of second choices. I'm going to run through that. The return of elite performance mentality coming to Manchester United. It's an exciting time coming up. It really, really is. I know I say that sometimes, and I can get swept away in it. And I've done that with some players, I will admit. But this feels very, very different. Anyway, who's here from the member gang? Good morning to everybody. Good morning to Michael Offkey, Ice Cold Moe. Very nice. And I will indeed get some more rigor in my voice. Just going to get a T-shirt with rigor written on it. Ross, Josephine, and Sue. We've got Alex Sandman, Ebifemi, Nima, Mike Scully, Biker Boy and Paula, and Poz. Josh, you're there as well. And Alex, good morning to all of you. Matt Frost, how you doing, buddy? Who's here from Facebook? Let's have a look. Omar Gauchi. We've got David Bettinson. Got Ahmed Jonas, Debbie Hinz, Paul Talbot. Good morning to all of you. Looking forward to the show. As always, you know what to do throughout the show. Please fire in your comments and questions. If you want to troll, well, you can piss off. I'll try not to nibble as much as I have done previously, and I'm getting better sometimes. But look, the video I did yesterday, really enjoyed doing it. I just, it's refreshing to see genuine action at our club. I think that's the biggest reason why the news on, was it Saturday night? I think it was Saturday night. It was. Why the news on Saturday night really surprised a lot of people in a positive way, because there was no whispers of Barata being linked to our club. And it's probably because any sort of rational person who looked at Barata as an option, they wouldn't have looked at him as an option because he was settled and so important at Manchester City. They would never have thought that Manchester United, with the Glazers in the club, would ever be able to pry him away. Well, that opinion massively switched and changed. And yeah, I said, what I want to do here is kind of just run through a little bit of industry reaction. I want some comments here from David Ornstein, comments here from James Ducker, just on the appointment of Barata and sort of how it happened. This is what David Ornstein said on the podcast yesterday. He said, it appears to have been a slick, quick and discreet operation, which you don't normally associate with Manchester United under the Glazer regime. But perhaps that's because it was driven by INEOS. And now my personal opinion on that is there's no perhaps about it, right? There's absolutely no perhaps about it. That's exactly what happened. It was driven by INEOS. The Glazers probably didn't even know who Omar Berrada was. They would probably go, oh Man City are good at what they're doing. I wonder who's doing it. I very much doubt that they were really. Well, it was Brailsford who had the original appointment with Barata in December. Then it was Brailsford and Ratcliffe who had a meeting with him. And then after all of that, there was sort of a final meeting between Ratcliffe, Brailsford. I don't know whether Barata met the Glazers. I don't think he needed to. And then they gave it the sign-off. As I said, the CEO appointment was the one where the Glazers still were involved in the decision-making process, which is probably a big reason why I'm so happy that it's it feels like such a smart appointment. And there's a video clip I want to pull up now, right? So we're working on the deep dive. I've already done my video on a sort of a brief overview and an introduction into Barata. I've already done that. That was released on Sunday, but the deep dive will be coming out tomorrow. It's either tomorrow or Thursday, dependent. And you're going to really, really love it. I hope so anyway. This clip I'm going to show you here will give you a bit of an insight into the mind of Barata, because there's certain people going, well, why would Barata leave City for United? And there's going to be 115 reasons why some of you might think that he's leaving. But if you're just talking about from a business perspective, this clip will give you an insight into the sort of mind of Barata and how he likes to personally develop and likes a challenge.
So I just, at the time, I realized that I had a certain amount of know-how and knowledge that was accumulated across those years that I wanted to go and apply somewhere else in a different context. When I was, so my last year at Barcelona, I was head of sponsorship. And this was a time when the team was doing amazingly well. So winning almost every single title.
It sold itself, so to speak.
Yeah. So going to speak to sponsors, we almost could choose which sponsors we wanted to work with. When I first joined Man City in the first early years, some brands wouldn't even open the doors to us. So I had to then become a lot more creative and think about how we can approach them. And that was an amazing professional development because, selling a product that everybody wants is relatively easy. Selling a product that people don't quite understand yet takes a bit more innovation.
As I said, I found that clip interesting. We've got that clip and so many more going into the deep dive. You're really going to enjoy it. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, although you're here, so you probably have. But Barata was at Barcelona. Everything was sort of easy. He could pick and choose whichever sponsors he went to. But City, he liked the challenge of starting from the bottom. Now, that's not going to be the case at Manchester United. It's going to be a bit of a halfway house, right? We may well have not won the league since 2013. We may well have not won the Champions League since 2008. But still, our revenues are in excess of 600 million. So it's not as if he's going to have to start from the ground up and brands won't open their doors. But I've said this so many times on here, right? I said the players, the manager, and now we can include the football structure and staff of our club that take Manchester United back to the top, back to winning Premier League titles, back to winning Champions Leagues. That right there is career legacy defining stuff and would absolutely dwarf anything that happened at City because it's Manchester United. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear that and they call it entitlement this, entitlement that. It's just the honest truth. Manchester United still is one of the 3 biggest clubs in the world behind Real Madrid and Barcelona. Still. And it doesn't really make much sense. Talk about the legacy value of what the Glazers have sort of bled dry. But that clip there, I thought it offered real insight into sort of the mindset of Barata. And again, I think that's another reason why I am so happy that appointment's now been made and the news is out, because we can all actually, there's only so far that speculation and conversation and predictions can go. The fact that Barata is in right now means that we can properly look, and there's quite a lot of information out there, properly look into the mind of the man who is going to be our CEO. We can actually start to understand and piece together what the vision is going to be. And we can have a little bit more clarity on that. It's exciting. I'm going to go down here and read some of your comments. And you're saying it benefits everyone too. An appointment of this scale adds untold credibility and confidence to us as a brand. Hey, dude. I think I've said this before. I'll say it again now, and I'll speak about him in a little bit. But if we can go and get Barata from City, then I don't really think there's an appointment in a football power position, whether that's sporting director, whether that's head of recruitment. I don't think there's anybody now who is off the cards. That right there was probably the hardest appointment to make. And they've made it first. Every appointment that happens after will be easier because Ratcliffe and Brailsford can just go, well, Omar Berrada has left literally one of the biggest and best well-run football organizations in the world to join Manchester United. Do you want to join in? It's an easier sell now. I think so anyway. Ross, you're asking down there if I've listened to the full podcast yet. This one, no, not that one there. Not that one there. God, where is it? Jeez, too many links. Too many links. Too many links. That one there. I haven't actually listened to this full podcast yet, but I will do. Skinny G, is it your 29th birthday today? Everyone say happy birthday, Skinny G. 29. Great age. Great age. Soccer AM. It was great back in the day. I wanted to pull this up as well, right? This is from James Ducker from The Telegraph. And he was saying, and this is something that, again, I've said a lot of times. We can fairly and accurately complain and moan about the amount of money that's just been siphoned out of our football club since the Glazers came in. Like, over £1 billion is left on servicing the debt, on interest repayments, on money that should have been spent. However, that second paragraph there, in terms of the damage that the Glazers have done, the money going out of the club arguably are not as damaging as the routinely underwhelming personnel choices, misguided priorities, and steady erosion of high standards and expectations that have happened. That right there is something that I've said quite a lot of times. If we had somebody like Omar Berrada as our CEO, from when, if in another world and another time, right? Because Barata in 2013 had only just gone to Man City, right? But another world, another time. And at that point in time, he only kind of knew the business side of football, so he wouldn't actually be the well-rounded individual that he is now. So somebody else. But if we had got a different CEO instead of Ed Woodward, who followed on from Fergie and Gill, things could have been extremely different in these last 10 years, because spending money hasn't actually been our problem. We spent over £1 billion. It's who's been in charge of the wallet. That's what I've said for a long time. And again, that's a big reason why it's exciting to get Barata in. This is what another thing that David Ornstein said here. Said, look, the kind of omission in the statement of putting football performances back at the heart is almost disparagement against the previous setup. It's not almost, it is. Perhaps what we are seeing here is an INEOS takeover. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has ambition to be the outright owners of United further down the line. And maybe this is them saying that Barata is our man. This is our project. We're going to bring in more of our people. We're going to shake things up because it's not been working. And that right there is exactly what is happening here. Jim Ratcliffe, when he first put in his offer to buy Manchester United, wanted to take over the full club, 69%. Then everything happened after that. You're going to get legal challenges against that unless you buy the A and the B shares. He couldn't afford to buy the A and the B shares at the same price he'd offered the Glazers. Jassim, who cares about Jassim? But the intention has always been there to own all of Manchester United. And that Barata appointment there, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I think it's worth repeating. The CEO position was the only position where the Glazers still had a say. Right? When it comes to a sporting director, when it comes to a head of recruitment, there won't be a meeting with Joel Glazer. It will just get announced. They will just tell the Glazers, this is our sporting director. The Glazers won't be able to go, hold up, no, we don't want him in. They have no say. The CEO is the position they had a say in because it crosses commercial and football. And they got this man in. It's very, very positive. Irish Truth Ragnick under INEOS would have been great. Ralph Rangnick, in my opinion, was right man, wrong time, wrong job. I think that's pretty much how I would sum up Ralph Rangnick. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be coming back, nor should he. I don't think we should be looking backwards for anything, really, in my opinion. Let me go down here and read some of your comments out. Calvin, you gifted 5 memberships at the start of the show. What done? With Omar here, I'm excited for what transfers will be like. Now, Ronnie, I might actually give you a video on that today. Look at that. Segue. Big up to you, Calvin. Every time I say Calvin, I think of Simon, Alvin, Theodore. Who is it? Simon, Alvin, Theodore? We're the Chipmunks. I think it's Simon and Alvin. Simon, Alvin. Yeah. Anyone ever watched that when they were a kid? Just me? Dude. Alex, you're saying Rangnick now as a director of football would be lit. Nah, I don't think that Manchester United should be looking backwards for anything. I think Manchester United should be looking forwards. And Dan Ashworth is a significantly a smarter appointment in my opinion. But yeah, on top of all of this, like Joleon Lescott, you might say, is not exactly who cares what Joleon Lescott has got to say. But as you can see from James Ducker, as you can see from David Ornstein, as you can see from Joleon Lescott, Rio Ferdinand. I mean, I'm not sure what guys you're speaking to there, Rio. I haven't not the same guys that you got from back Qatar, mate. But the industry has reacted in such a way that it really makes you understand how impressive this appointment is. And I think I've said this before as well. I seem to be repeating myself a lot today. But over the years that we've made signings, there was a good period up until we signed Bruno Fernandes, where we were spending big money, right? But I don't think any fan of any other club was looking at us signing Harry Maguire and going, "Oh, I'm jealous of that signing. Wish we made that." I don't really think anybody was looking at Dan James going, I wish we had signed that player." And I thought the Bruno Fernandes signing was a signing that we made where other clubs were going, fans of other clubs were going, yeah, a little bit jealous of that one. Now, I don't know how many signings post Bruno Fernandes that they've been thinking that. But with this Omar Berrada situation, I think a lot of clubs, a lot of fans, a lot of journalists are all looking at it going, that is a pretty solid appointment. Because that's exactly what it is. And then moving on to what's coming next, hopefully, is this. Because there is definitely, I might have to get one of the designers on this because I can see it in my head. The Avengers. The Avengers with Ratcliffe. Who's who in the Avengers? By the way, don't shoot me. I never really cared for the Avengers, right? So many people are like, you've got to watch all the films in order. I'm not going to put any spoilers in. You've got to watch all of it. Got to do this. You've got to get the backgrounds up. I watched so many of them and I was like, really? Have I really got to watch Ant-Man? Do I really have to watch this? I can't remember where I gave up, but I didn't watch them all. But the Avenger films themselves were actually really good. Like the 3 Avenger films. But who's who? Who's who? You got Ratcliffe, you've got Blanc, you've got Barata, you've got Ashworth, you've got Mitchell, maybe. That's 5. Don't know who else you're going to get. But Dan Ashworth, right? If we can get Barata from City, we can get Ashworth from Newcastle. Is a mindset that I've immediately switched to. And again, that's not a sense of entitlement. That's just, I think that's a sense of grandeur for, like, I think grandeur is actually a negative word. It's like delusions of grandeur. I think you're bigger than you are, isn't it? Grandeur. No, not delusion, but grandeur in itself, just delusions of grandeur. But that's what this project is. Do you want to be part of the brand new football structure at Manchester United that makes already still one of the 3 biggest brands in world football the absolute elite top level again? You do? Okay, come on board. Dan Ashworth. And that's what the reports are suggesting. Fabrizio Romano there speaking on United Stand, saying that United are working hard towards it. You've got separate reports coming from The Independent saying that Dan Ashworth is the man who Brailsford wants. And if it's not Dan Ashworth, I mean, look, if we've been linked with the likes of Dougie Friedman. We've been linked with Andrea Berta from Atletico Madrid. We've been linked with, I can't even remember his name. Dude who's, I think, is Atalanta's technical director as well. Dan Ashworth is by some margin the best choice for me, in my opinion, anyway. And on top of this, when it's Irish, you're saying Dan Ashworth had a howler not doing his homework on Tonali. It feels like that probably falls into the same sort of category that I suppose Man United's mistakes with Sancho. By the way, doesn't it go to show you how much research you really have to do into transfers? Like you can't just look at, oh yeah, look at he's well good at step overs. Oh look how good his crossing is. Bring him in. You have to. It's like hiring somebody from your own company. You have to do character assessments. You have to get what they called in your CV when someone recommends you. Can't remember the word off the top of my head for some reason. But you have to really understand the person behind the footballer. Really kind of deep dive into their life, understand what their upbringing was, understand everything so that you can't get caught out by things, such as how Newcastle got caught out. Referral. There you go. Character references, referrals. BC, need me doing the research. Right? You need Steve doing the research. I can't take too much credit for the research that's been going on because, truth be told, what we're trying to do here on United People's TV, there is a reason why other channels haven't done it. It is labor intensive. You need a crack squad all involved doing their own elements. And we're building that now. But it really is coming together. So, yeah, the video that I've already done on Dan Ashworth there, who I think for me is easily the standout candidate for the sporting director position. Quite a few of you down there are asking about Paul Mitchell. It's quite easy to see where the structure is. And I'll tell you what, this video is not going out today, but I'll show you the thumbnail for it because it kind of give you a wee teaser. This video I'm planning on releasing tomorrow. Let's see if I can get it done. But this isn't the high quality version of the thumbnail, by the way. But going to be doing an updated version of the structure video. And there is a position in this structure where Paul Mitchell and Dan Ashworth can work together. Dan Ashworth will be the sporting director. Paul Mitchell will be the head of recruitment. But for Paul Mitchell to do that, he would have to accept a lesser position than he held at Monaco, where he was effectively, he was like technical director, sporting director. He was the Dan Ashworth of Monaco. But if Paul Mitchell wants to be part of the system at United, he's going to have to accept a slightly lesser role. But you're at Manchester United. Things are massively different. Things are bigger. So I'd like to think that he'd be excited by that, but I suppose we don't know that. We will find out. But Dave Brailsford, again, I'm so excited about the content I've got coming up because it's the sort of content I love doing. As much as I love, and I do, right? I love covering the news. I love covering matches and match predictions and match reactions. It's all really fun. I find this stuff probably the most interesting. And Dave Brailsford and my reaction to the Diary of a CEO interview is going to go out probably on Thursday. I don't know when video is going to go out this week. He's the man who is being tasked with building. Ratcliffe is the owner. He's facilitated the money. Dave Brailsford is his right-hand man. Brailsford is the man who Ratcliffe trusts to build the team of directors at the footballing structure at Manchester United. Brailsford is in charge of building that. And the first piece to his puzzle was Omar Berrada. And the second piece to his puzzle may well end up being Dan Ashworth. And the third may well end up being Paul Mitchell. This is what we're going to find out over time. But I think something that's surprised us all really is the speed of Barata. I mean, you're probably about 2 weeks off still of Ratcliffe actually being ratified, and we've already got a CEO appointed. I know he's not actually working, but it's already done. He's going to be coming in the summer. So things are going to move fast. And Barata was already in a position at City. I imagine, I suppose it depends on how complicated their contracts are. Omar Berrada was able to resign straight away and go on gardening leave. Would Dan Ashworth be able to do that as a sporting director? It feels like City are in a stronger position overall with the City group and everything they've got there. They're probably in a stronger position overall for Barata to step out and for other people to step in and cover what he's doing until they got someone else in. I think if this man, if Dan Ashworth was to leave Newcastle United, they would crap their pants. And I don't even know who's got an assistant there. I think they would struggle to replace him more. So they would probably likely grip onto him more and make it more difficult for him to leave. That's just kind of what my predictions are. Go down here and read some of your comments out. Let's have a look. Mo Salah, you're saying, Sam, thoughts on Rui Costa as director of football from Benfica? I think if we really wanted to, we could spend like 2 hours, 2.5 hours now, not even that, an hour doing some research, going, well, what about this one? What about that director of football? What about this director of football? What about that director of football? There's a million. And I've seen the news actually that's just coming out about Bayern's technical director. I believe that has he just resigned? Let's have a look. 1 second here. Bayern, I think it was technical. Bayern Munich is set to terminate the contract of technical director Marco Nepe. Nepe? Been there for 10 years. Well, that's what I mean. There's going to be different. I'm not saying that Dan Ashworth is the be all and end all, right? I'm not saying that if we don't get Dan Ashworth, there's nobody else who could do what he could do. But Dan Ashworth is for sure emerging as the leading candidate. And if the Barata story is anything to go by, Brailsford, Ratcliffe, and INEOS will be pretty confident of getting their front runners for each position. So watch this space, I suppose. Watch this space. And look, if that story about what's his name, Marco Nepe, if that increases, then you know where to come for a deep dive into, right? What I'll quickly say before we move on, we'll talk about transfers now. We'll speak about Sancho, Antony, Casemiro, Varane, Saudi Arabia, all that jazz. We'll speak about Port Vale and Dan Gore, a bit on the youth teams. At least we've got another like 20-ish minutes to go. If you can, drop a like on the video. And as always, fire in your comments throughout the show. Let's see if any other news is broken. Right, let's move on. Let's speak about these. Because reports yesterday came out, and I'll run through them. These aren't gospel truths. It's coming from the Standard, coming from, I think it's Nizar Kinsella. I've been watching. But this is what the reports are suggesting. Jadon Sancho and Antony have been offered to clubs in the Saudi Pro League as United try to recoup some of the... that'll make you throw up in your mouth. You know, 155 mil on Sancho and Antony. 155 mil. Man. The things you could have done with that money if you nailed it, if you got it right. It's almost it's not laughable because it's Manchester United, but it almost is laughable how bad we are at profiling players. Look, Erik ten Hag wanted Antony because he knew Antony. And he saw that he thrived in the environment at Ajax, and he thought, well, that'll definitely translate across. And it hasn't, in any way, shape, or form. I now I don't see, in my opinion, I don't even care if Erik ten Hag leaves in the summer. I don't want Jadon Sancho back at the club. He made his choices, and he made it abundantly clear for 3 months that him being right was more important than him playing for the club and swallowing his pride. He made it clear what was more important to him in life. And I don't want him back at the club now. Right? You had your chance to play for Manchester United. Goodbye. Doesn't change if we get a new manager. Move him on. Antony, last season, I think his output, he was delivering goals, but he wasn't impacting games enough. And this season, he's just been naff. He has been. He's been naff. There's no way. I would be pleasantly surprised, but very surprised if out of nowhere, Antony all of a sudden, he gains a right foot. Antony all of a sudden, the output just goes from nothing to 100. I would be surprised. And I don't think it's going to happen. Therefore, selling both of those players is not something that I think takes away from Manchester United's quality in the squad. You can argue about right wing, but you've got, who are right wing options now? Garnacho and Rashford. For me, it feels like the starting left winger and right winger at Manchester United. I think then you've got Ahmad coming through. I think personally, Pellistri is going to be sold. And as long as we've got a buyback and as long as we've got a sell on percentage, I'm fine with that. I'm not going to lose any sleep over Pellistri leaving. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think there's any chance that Sancho or Antony go to? I think Sancho, wasn't it in the summer? If I remember correctly, Manchester United were already. In fact, I know I'm correct. It was in the Athletic. Manchester United were already sort of not openly saying that Sancho was for sale, but I think we were just exploring whether there was any clubs in Saudi Arabia who wanted him. And Sancho, I think, caught wind of it and then flew to New York. I think, if I remember correctly, I remember reading this. Maybe I haven't got that verbatim, word for word. Yeah, man, I am done with that. It all doesn't really say much for the quality in the Bundesliga if Sancho's just going there and walloping it straight away. But if I hate what Saudi Arabia is doing with the money to football. And it's an extension of the problems that started from Abramovich and Chelsea and came even bigger with City and Abu Dhabi, and then PSG and Qatar. And now Saudi Arabia are just trying to establish a league and break into the top 5 leagues. So you've got the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, and Liga. They're the 5 top leagues. They want to become one of those. And because they got the World Cup in 2036, they are not. You know how the Chinese Super League came and went? Saudi Arabian League's going nowhere. It's just going to get more and more. I imagine this summer Mo Salah moves, and Mo Salah's going to move for 150 mil. It's going to be, you know how Liverpool sold Coutinho to Barcelona for mad money and then sort of funded so much. I think they're going to do the same thing with Salah this summer. That's going to suck. I'm going to go down and read some of your comments. So Antony in the summer, not now, says Joe. I don't think Antony's gone now. Is that what this is suggesting? I don't think either of them are leaving in January. Well, Sancho's obviously left in January on loan, but I don't think on permanent deal. Danny's saying, I'd like to see how a Casemiro, Mainu, and Bruno central 3 would work. Hey, dude, it's something I really want to see. It on paper, it's easily the most balanced midfield we've got. And so many people continue to slag and slate Bruno Fernandes. And I keep saying, if we have a team and a midfield, Bruno is that good with the final ball into the box, you do build a midfield around him. He does have weaknesses and he does have flaws. So build the most balanced setup possible behind him that allows Bruno to just focus on what he's good at, rather than Bruno running around like a headless chicken, just trying to do everything because he wants to do everything. It's like me doing it. I could do every job here on United People's TV. I could research for these live shows, which are every morning. I research for the live shows. I set it all up. I do the thumbnail, mic setup, camera setup. I could, at the same time, I could be researching the script for the Barata deep dive whilst also then editing it. I'm cutting the video down, getting the music sorted, building the animations for it. You see, I'm going to record the podcast, research and script that podcast. I'm also going to go on the socials and create the shorts for the TikTok and also create the graphic. I could do all of these things. But if I did them all, then I wouldn't be doing them all at 100%. That's what I mean about balance. Bruno just kind of wants to do everything. And I can't knock that attitude and approach. But if you can just allow him to do what he's specifically good at and special at, in my opinion, like Bruno's incredible. But we need the midfield balance to support that. You can ring the bell as well, says Edwin. Man, I get so annoyed when that bell rings because I know it's not going to stop. But Jadon Sancho and Antony leaving, I think at this moment in time, it feels pretty inevitable. I would be surprised if Antony turned his career around. And again, if I can pull up this quote here, I think this is quite an important one. So this came out yesterday. Again, this is a suggestion from Fabrizio Romano rather than the gospel truth. But we know full well that this is exactly the approach that is required at Manchester United. Where bloody is it? One sec. Should have got this up yesterday. That's what I mean about the research you got to do every day. That one there. Right. Because we know that this is the correct approach, but we just haven't seen it for a long time. Omar Berrada feels that players at Manchester United have got to perform or leave the club within 1 or 2 years. Man United have got stuck in this cycle of overpaying for players and giving them such big contracts that the club itself feels obliged to give players longer to try and perform to potentially improve the return on investment. That's a business. I said that is a business-centric, focused thought process. It's not an elite performance mindset and a culture. And man, it's tough. Like it is ruthless. Like to be a Manchester United player, you have to be in what? Like the top 0.25% of like elite footballers. Like to play for one of the 3 biggest clubs in the world, it's probably less than 0.25% if I'm being completely honest. Yet at Manchester United, we have tolerated so much mediocrity because we've paid 50 million for Martial, which actually that wasn't actually terrible at the time. I think it was the most expensive teenager at the time, and he burst onto the scene. But then we gave him that bumper contract, and we just dragged it out. Phil Jones dragged it out, gave him a contract. There are so many examples. I can't think of them off the top of my head of just players that we've just kept for too long and they've gone rotten. And then you just kind of got to throw it away instead of selling it because nobody wants it when it's rotten. And again, you know what, right? It almost feels like Brailsford and Ratcliffe, they got together and they said, you know what? Right, we don't need to say this publicly, but City have just got everything right, haven't they? From everything that they've done, really, from 2011, with the people they brought in, with the transfers that they've made, it's like, how on earth have they managed to be so consistently impressive with the decisions that they've made? And that's probably why they looked at Omar Berrada, and maybe why nobody else was talking about it. In their mindset, they were thinking, well, we want Manchester United to put City back in their place. So we're going to have to look at what they've done right, take that, and build on it. And they've gone a step further than that. They've gone to City, seen everything that they've done right, picked the person out of that club who was next in line, really, to become their CEO, and brought him across. Of course, there's 115 reasons why they've been successful. And we know that the financial doping is part of it. But don't kid yourself in thinking it's just the money. because it's not. Because if it was just money, Manchester United would not be in the position we are in. So not only have they strengthened Manchester United, but they've weakened City at the same time. Steve, how you doing? He's saying, can we get a family tree type graphic? As time moves on, this tree is going to get complicated. As I said, Steve, tomorrow, it might not be tomorrow. I don't know when it's going to be. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do another video. I already did one previously on how the setup and the structure was starting to look. That's now sort of gone forward a little bit. So I'm going to do an updated version. Now that we know that Omar Berrada is going to be the CEO, you can really start to see it taking place. I'm going to read a couple more of your comments out here. City got all the under the table stuff right. Well, John, they've been caught. So, yeah, questionable whether they did everything right. Rule number 1, never get caught. A mate told me that. It's not what I think. Smaller wages with bigger bonuses based on performances and results, says Robert. Incentivization, correct incentivization is required in any job. If you're a manager, whether you're a micromanager of 1, 2, 3, 4 people, or you're manager at Manchester United with a squad of 25 senior players and sod knows how many youth team players as well. Incentivization and the drive to incentivize people, you have to know exactly what that is. And at Manchester United, it's been about money. Money's been the big driver, which has taken us in the wrong direction. Because money isn't what drives elite team performance. Success and winning is what drives athletes. Of course, money is what they need, but athletes want to be at the peak of their sport. Money comes with that. But a kid who gets into football doesn't love football and love their own sport because of money when they're young. They get it because they love the thrill of winning, the adrenaline of winning. And that grows and grows and grows as you get older. But United have lost that. Let's have a quick roundup of all the other news that's going around. Dan Gore. I was surprised when I saw this from Fabrizio Romano. But maybe I'm not too surprised. Dan Gore is going to be completing a loan move to Port Vale between now and the end of the season. And he's at that age of his career, 18, that if he can get 6 months of first team men's football and actually plays, this is the big thing, right? Alvaro Fernandez went to Granada. I think he started like 5 times. Given, I think Port Vale are like 15th in League One. So look. Let's see if I got that right. If I got that right, I'm incredible. If I do say so myself. Ah, 18th. Boo. Sacking. Anyway, they're 18th in League One. They are 7 points off relegation. So it shouldn't be getting into the relegation scrap. Might be though. Yeah, and you're right down there. I thought Hannibal leaving left space for Gore in the squad. But then I suppose if you then step back, you could say, well, in terms of central midfielders in the second half of the season, Manchester United should have Casemiro, Eriksen, McTominay, Mainu. You can put Mason Mount in there if you want as well. You can probably put Bruno Fernandes inside those. If you're talking about the 3 midfield positions, Dan Gore would still be quite far down the pecking order. He would be that player on the bench, but at this point in his career, maybe that's 6 months out on loan. And it is just a straight loan. This is no loan with agreement to sell or anything like this. This is just a player development loan. Kind of more of a traditional one. So, Amrabat, of course, I've completely forgot Amrabat bloody existed. That's what I mean. We do actually have some options. We've just been so wafer thin because of injuries. Ebifemi saying, is that going to improve Dan Gore at all? Mate, the right loan spells improve players. Hannibal, before he went to Birmingham, yeah, he was a significantly better player after Birmingham. Was it James Garner? I think James Garner got promoted. Did he get promoted with Forest? I think he did. I would prefer that Dan Gore went to someone a little bit higher than 18th in League One, but it's still going to be a challenge, a physical challenge for him. And I think that's probably why a league like that might help him, because it will be far more, it will be slower pace of football and it will be more focused on the physical aspect. Whereas the further up you get, the faster the speed of football gets, the more technical it gets, rather than being physical. And if Manchester United want to develop that side of his game, maybe a League One loan would be the right thing to do. You never know. Anyway, I've got high hopes for Dan Gore, so let's see what happens when he comes back. But not just Gore, and I've been saying this for a while. I did a video, what was it, last week before, about our youth team players and about the excitement of them. I've got 4 there. This is a graphic we put out yesterday. Shea Lacey, Amir Ibrahimov, Jace Fitzgerald, Jack Fletcher. I spoke about Jack Fletcher yesterday. Been watching a couple of under 18s games. And he's got such a tall frame, but very quick feet. And it's quite an aesthetically pleasing combination to watch. Someone who's got like a lanky frame that you would expect that is just, he's gonna be really slow, but he's not. He's got a deft touch, and he's got nice little shoulder drops. It's just, he's quite a good player to watch. But these are 4 of the youngsters that are coming through, and I'm going to be doing. I'll give you a little teaser here because you're all on the live show. You're all tuning in. I'm going to be doing a series. I'm not going to tell you who with, but someone who's extremely knowledgeable on the academy. We're going to be doing a 5-part series on some of the most exciting youngsters in our academy that are worthy of a discussion. So we're going to do special videos on Jack Fletcher, on Harry Amass, left back, on who else did I want to speak about from the under 18s? I'll leave the rest as a surprise, right? But you definitely want to catch those because I know so many people want to learn more about the academy, and that's what this series is going to do. So that's coming out at some point soon. That's what I mean. We're leveling up United People's TV. We're going to start getting series in now, formats that I can repeat. And I've got another really, really good one I'm doing separately. But I'm not telling you what that is yet. But I saw this. And this was something that happened over the weekend. It was organised by Nick Cox, Manchester United's head of academy. And I believe there were about 150 to 200 of Manchester United's youth team players from like the under 9s the whole way through to the under 16s that were invited to an event to celebrate Manchester United's academy. The parents of the young players were there, and a certain special guest turned up as well. And again, this is going to be the topic of a deep dive video that I do on this channel. And I really, really want to get Nick Cox on for an interview. I've tried to get him to slide into my DMs like twice now, and I can't get it to do it. I've tried to slide into his DMs on LinkedIn as well. If anybody's got a link to Nick Cox, can you slide into my DMs and help me? Because I really would love to speak to him. I think the work that he has done is very, very good. And the success of our academy over the last few years is not just down to Nick Cox. It's there's actually got to go much further back than that. John Murtough actually did quite a lot of decent work with the academy before he got over promoted. Nicky Butt did some good work before he ended up clashing with John Murtough and then leaving. Man United's academy is in a far, far better place. With the youngsters that are coming through, look, all of those 16 or under, next few years are exciting. Yeah, it's cool seeing that. I think it's a really smart thing to do by Nick Cox, and I think he's actually done a lot of smart things with the academy. Now, I want to pull this up to sort of... This is a random little point that I saw. Okay, but look at this. Most points dropped from a winning position this season in the Premier League. And you can see there's only one team. The team who has dropped the fewest points from a winning position is Aston Villa. They've only dropped 3 points. Once when they played us. Interesting that. But Manchester United are one of the best teams when it comes to holding on to winning positions, which I found surprising, I think. So we've been leading 12 times. We've won 10 of them. Drawn 1 and lost 1. I thought that was I mean, it's about as impressive as the first half of the season's gone. It's just that we've never really been in the winning position often enough. But Man United are pretty good at holding on to a lead. Just not good enough to get into the lead in the first place. That's the problem. But I don't know. I quite like that stat. Because I've always felt that I've always felt nervous watching Manchester United when we've got a lead. I was so many times I've said this season, just don't concede after scoring, don't concede after scoring. We bloody conceded after scoring. I'm guessing that doesn't include the Champions League. That's just the Premier League. But no, interesting, I thought. Interesting. Is that this season? 2000. Is that? I think that is that from the whole year. Premier League, no, Premier League 23-24. We haven't won 10 games in the Premier League this year. Hold up here. How many games have we won? Oh, geez, we've won 10 games. Huh? Damn, I forgot we've already played 21 games this season. Mad. We have won 10. Well, can you just get into winning positions more often then? Because stats are showing that you're pretty good at holding on to it. Right? In the league anyway. Let's not talk about the Champions League. Didn't happen this year. Didn't happen. I've men in blacked myself. That's a verb now. Men in blacked. Last couple of minutes of the show, ladies and gents. Fire in your comments and questions. But as I said, I want to reiterate this, like the palpable sense of relief, I think, at seeing Ratcliffe and INEOS follow through on their words has brought a lot of people who were sitting on the other side of the fence and going, I'll believe it when I see it. Ratcliffe saying all the right words, but their words, I need to see actions. And then we've now gone and stolen one of the brightest minds in the City setup as our new CEO. And that right there is action. So there's a lot of United fans that then come across and go, you know what? As much as I'm pessimistic, that's quite exciting. And now there's more people like sitting on the fence going, right, okay, you've done something. Now do more. And I'm telling you, this is a long process. There's a lot of wounded United fans over the last 20 years. It's going to take a long time to repair that relationship between an owner of Manchester United and the fan base. James, again, sometimes you try and troll me, dude. I have no idea why you do it, or you just don't listen to me enough. I still want to know about the clause that can force Ratcliffe to sell in 18 months. It's been reported everywhere, but I've not heard you say one thing about it. I've done 2, maybe 3 different conversations on this, but I'll do one more for you now. All right. That clause after 18 months is to do with the fact that if the Glazers decide to sell, and this is what I mean, you haven't been listening to me. That's such a misreported headline. Because if the Glazers decide to sell in 18 months, Ratcliffe's got first right of refusal. If they decide to sell, they have to go to Ratcliffe first and say, we're selling. The difference is, if the Glazers decide to sell and they go to someone else and they offer $1 billion more, they go back to Ratcliffe and say, you willing to put up the $1 billion extra? And he says no, then he can be forced to sell because the Glazers have found a different buyer at a higher price and Ratcliffe is not willing to match that bid. I don't know why it's being misreported like that, but in fact, I know exactly why it's being misreported like that. Right there, James, it's changed your mindset. You think, well, he's just going to be forced to sell. The Glazers can force Ratcliffe to sell. Oh my God, it's all bullshit. That's what papers do. It's really not the case. Ratcliffe has the right of first refusal. If the Glazers want to sell, they have to come to him first and tell him and offer it to him first. Right, there you go. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. JC, all the work's appreciated, man. Sam, but don't ruin your health. Delegate. I'm doing it. I think the reason I've been, I suppose I can be honest with you, the reason I've been struggling to this point is I have invested a lot. I don't need to tell you numbers, but I've invested a lot into building the team that we've now got. And I want to make it work now. So that's what. And it'd be good if United were actually, not terrible at football. It really would. And this is the start, I think, of something different at this club. I really do. But look, thank you everybody for tuning in. Exciting thing I've got this afternoon. I'm going to be working properly on the software for this live show to get completely redeveloped and relaunched. And when that happens, this whole live show is honestly, it's going to go up from like a level 2 straight up to a level 10. It's going to be exciting. This afternoon's video, not sure what it's going to be on. It's either going to be on Barata and his transfer policy at City or the structure of Manchester United. I think I might do it on Barata and transfers. I think that's a little bit more interesting to start with. But big up to all of you. Drop a like on the video if you can. Much love. And I will see you tomorrow morning at 10.